What did you want to know? I'll hand it to that piece of shit. He was determined. He used some kind of old-world stealth device to get across the river in a Legion boat. Seems the device ran out of juice once he got here, but he was dressed like a legionary. He was caught just outside the weather station. See, thing is, he didn't change his hairstyle. To go to all that effort and fail because you're too vain to mush your hair. He was brought before me along with the platinum chip. That's how I knew he wasn't some kind of profligate infiltrator. Benny tried to sell me a story, but Lucius has a way of coaxing the truth out of captives. Everything just comes spilling out. What else did you want to... Linnaeus is the greatest of my battlefield commanders. Some might call him a great man, but I'm not sure he qualifies. Once, he was the greatest warrior of the Hydebarks, a tribe of the Arizona. Maniacal in battle. Sometimes he'd ambush Legion patrols by himself. When after several months we found and surrounded the Hydebarks camp, their chieftain raised a banner of surrender. The warrior, who was not yet Linnaeus, went insane with rage. He struck down his chieftain and attacked his own tribe. He killed 15 before they brought him down. He didn't die, obviously. I had him tended to. He was maimed, most of his face torn off. It was days before he regained consciousness. When he did, I went to his bedside and showed him the helmet I'd had forged to cover his face. I said he could have it if he'd fight for me. He accepted, on condition that he be allowed to kill the surviving males of his tribe. I said, make it the adult males, and you have a deal. Linnaeus is savage. Savagely loyal, too, but only to me. He has no love for my legion. But this has its uses. He has no attachment to his men, no compunction about battlefield losses. All he cares about is destroying the enemy. When another legatus or a centurion fails to achieve results, I send Linnaeus to make things right. His first step is to beat the failed commander to death in front of his assembled troops. Then he orders the ritual of decimatio. It means decimation. But in ancient Rome, the word had a very specific meaning. A punishment for cowardice. The legionaries are lined up in ranks. Every 10th man steps forward and is beaten to death by his brothers. It instills a certain robust obedience. Yes, this time my legionaries will be more frightened of the commander behind them than the enemy before them. There will be no failure this time, no retreat, no years of gathering slaves and resources for another assault. With Linnaeus to drive the Legion forward, the dam will be taken. It will be our bridgehead across the Colorado. It's not going to happen again, that's all I have to say about it. And I've heard it's a bad idea to tempt the wrath of Caesar. Change the subject. What else did... I know he's a coward, hiding behind an army of robots ensconced in that tower of his like a wizard in one of those Grognak comic books. Some say he's a man, others a machine. I don't care. He's in the way. What else? I used Imperial Rome as the model for my legion precisely because it was so foreign, so alien. I'd seen what had become of the NCR's attempts to emulate the culture of pre-war America, the infighting, the corruption. Rome was a highly militarized autocracy that effectively integrated the foreign cultures it conquered. It dedicated its citizens to something higher than themselves, to the idea of Rome itself. In Rome, I found a template for a society equal to the challenges of the post-apocalyptic world, a society that could and would survive, A society that could prevent mankind from fracturing and destroying itself in this new world by establishing a new Pax Romana. What else did you want? What else then? Good. Don't know what kind of security he has inside the Lucky. I've read Mr. House's obituary. Had a high opinion of himself, didn't he? With Mr. House out of the way, I can focus on smoothing out a few lingering complications elsewhere in the Mojave. First up are the boomers of Nellis Air Force Base, a tribe so reclusive it lobs artillery shells at anyone who comes near their settlement. I want you to offer them an alliance with my legion. My terms are simple. Target their guns against the NCR side of the dam when I assault it, and they can keep their freedom. If you find they aren't amenable to this offer, destroy them. Good. Your first challenge will be to reach their settlement without getting blown up. After that, it should be easy. Have you brought news of the boomer? Even with the boomers to deal with, you have questions? The boomers settled at the old air base northeast of Vegas many years ago. No one knows exactly how long it's been. It may be that no one's traded with them or even spoken to them that entire time. If so, they're sitting on one hell of a stockpile of ammunition. My scouts have seen people moving around the base. The perimeter's guarded, with spotters and towers directing the artillery fire. They must have extraordinary vision. Some of my scouts were targeted at extreme distances. So no, I can't tell you what to expect inside the base. No one's been inside it, except them.
How may I be of service, sir? Looking to elevate his social status, is he? I'll admit, I could see benefits to living under his rule. Certain transgressions he'd be willing to overlook. But that's neither here nor there, I'm afraid. Marjorie won't have it, as long as she fails to see the wisdom of my perspective. I do, but I need someone I know I can rely on, and I haven't heard a thing about you. Perhaps if you made more of a name for yourself around the Strip, we could talk, but not before. Ah, yes. I've heard that. Good. He's got a power. Yes, the wrong. I asked for a last-minute replacement. I need a replacement. With so little time, if you... Not this one. Empty. I don't believe it's seen use since before the war. And what would the point be, really? Who would pick up his trash if he used it? But for our purposes, it should keep his body safe and hidden until my cohorts can recover it. Ted Gunderson is... But you would need... No. Everyone he meets, he tells the same story. That his son disappeared from the casino, not from his room. He'll look guilty. Splendid, splendid. The boy is being held in the kitchen beneath the gourmand. Here are some keys that will allow you access to him. The elder Gunderson is staying in our penthouse. I understand he's hired security, so be careful if you go up there. And our Mr. St. Clair resides to the north. He rarely strays far from his house, and he's surrounded it with booby traps. Indeed. So the Baron has slaughtered his last brawn. How delightful. He was a pox on our business. He would have driven the price of beef down to the point where any poor wretch could afford it. Can you imagine? But now we can price it even higher, create a new luxury market. Not for you, of course. You'll get a special discount. We'll know after tomorrow night's banquet at 7 o'clock. I'll only be telling everyone what they've eaten after they've eaten it. That way, they will all have crossed the same silly taboo. They'll have to reconsider it, even Marjorie. It's all image with her anyway. She just needs to realize the only difference between savage and sophisticated is the proper seasoning. Indeed.
Has the Brotherhood been destroyed? Very well. This latest victory brings to a close my efforts to reshape the power balance of the Mojave. And not a minute too soon. I want you to join me in my tent. You and I are going to have a private conversation. All right, let's state the obvious. There's something wrong with me. The headaches started a couple of months ago. They weren't too bad at first, but now they come frequently and they're debilitating. For the past 2 weeks, my left leg has been dragging. It's stiffer, hard to move. And you've seen me blank out. Lucia says I stare into space, blink a few times, then keep talking like nothing happened. So what's the diagnosis? I'm not familiar with that condition. Is it treatable? Then go find some proper surgical tools. The medications from a doctor's bag might come in handy too. I'll make sure you're allowed to bring the necessary medications into the camp. Hurry back. I don't know how long I've got. It's never had a functional diagnostic scanning module. Without that, it's useless for surgery. It's been said that the autodocs were standard equipment in the underground vaults where mankind survived when the bombs fell centuries ago. You can search the vaults, but every autodoc my Legion has run across has been stripped for parts long before we found it. Some of my scouts did report an abandoned vault near Nellis Air Force Base. Overrun by ghouls, they said. Maybe the infestation has been there long enough to keep scavengers out. Why don't you go and see? Do that, and try not to take too long.